August 2005. The Russians form a military alliance with the Chinese. October 2007. The work on the Olympus Tower is complete. Ron Anderson, the CEO of Ancaster Corporation, is the master of Olympus. Get it? The master? February 2012. A large-scale Sino-Russian military exercises signal a troubling development. April 2012. Ancaster presents the ultimate weapon in a fight against the communist menace. The Defender power armor is the fist of democracy. April 2012. War. Every real American must take arms in the defense of the world from the communist threat. I guess that didn't work out. Here is what this game is and why you should care. Olympus is an impressively high-effort indie RPG with a diesel punk aesthetic. It's a Fallout 2 total conversion, so naturally the gameplay is exactly like in classic Fallouts. Released in 2015, this is not a mod, it's a full package, a completely new game in an original setting with original art, sounds, animations, music. The developers couldn't make money selling Olympus since they don't legally own the engine, so it's a purely artistic project. An artistic project nobody knows about. It's remarkably obscure. Olympus is practically unknown even in the community of people who still mod and play classic Fallout games. I strongly suspect that the number of people who played Olympus to completion does not exceed double digits. This is a huge RPG with custom visual and sound assets that was enjoyed by dozens of people. Dozens.
Stop, please. Please sit down.
Our name is Chris. The classic Fallout character generation screen might seem intimidating for the uninitiated, but basically, don't worry about it. Our character has high agility, reasonable intelligence, strength, and perception, but we are not very charismatic or lucky. Skill-wise, we specialize in pickpocketing, lockpicking, and melee weapons. Olympus removes gambling skill, replacing it with seduction. Good change, but we won't be using it much. The other important change is an optional toggle right here that allows you to switch to a Skyrim-like skill gain system when your skills improve as you keep using them. But for the purposes of this video, I want to play with a classic system. The game begins. That's Mom. She tells us to go play with our little friend Catty. It's our 7th birthday. Tartarus. That's the name of the underground community we were born into. There are people of various ages, kids, teens, grown-ups, olds, all going about their business. Tartarus is essentially a sewer beneath the lower levels of the Olympus Tower. Armed guards block the cave entrance. The armor suit looks like it was ripped from Stalker and turned into a sprite. Well, the Stalker devs are actually okay with this sort of thing, and Olympus is a free game. Katie's mom is sick. The doc refuses to provide medicine. We got incredibly lucky here. The game randomly generated a pair of silk gloves in one of the lockers. This particular rare item boosts our pickpocket skill when worn. Using the gloves, I begin stealing valuable items from the soldiers guarding us. I'm gonna be the richest kid in the wasteland. These tiny batteries serve as currency. It would have been cool if they could actually be used to power things, but skipping ahead, I found no such use for them. Energy weapons have their own ammunition types. Since Katie's mom is sick and immobile, I might as well practice my thieving skills on her. I keep doing that until we gain a level. As you can see, the beautiful Art Deco aesthetic extends to the perk screen. A religious figure of some sort is loudly preaching about gods, our protectors and benefactors. We are 7. We don't care. The doctor says it would be irresponsible to give any more medicine to Katie's mom. But once again, we are 7-year-old sneak thief, a definition of irresponsible. So we steal a bunch of drugs from the doctor. Katie is grateful. The tutorial is done. It's 10 years later. Mom passed away from radiation poisoning. Dad is still here. We are almost an adult now. We have real responsibilities in Tartarus. The place barely changed in 10 years. I imagine it didn't change much much in the last 50. When we were a kid, there was no reason for us to interact with the guards much. But when we did, they were actually kind of nice to us. Now that we are a grown-up, this relationship changed. If they tell you to do something, you do it without question or hesitation. The guard wants us to get him some alcohol from a still at the bottom level. This is the agricultural section of Tartarus. The screen blinking is not a visual glitch. Something is wrong with the lights. The robed guy oversees and directs the laborers. He explains the today's responsibilities. First, we need to fix the goddamn illumination. This can be achieved by using a repair skill or by doing a very simple puzzle. The cow-like creatures are called the Lavash, the game's discount Brahmin. The canteen. The place is empty because everyone is working. Looks like this is the exit from Tartarus. The metal door is locked and I doubt the guards would let us out anyway. We harvest corn for Catty, who is overworked. The workshop level. The game has very good ambient music with a strong identity, not unlike the original Fallout. I'm honestly not sure what this place is, and I'm afraid to speculate. I wonder if the scientists are of our people, or are they from the floors above? This little side area leads to the room with the still. The game has an elaborate crafting system. Not something we'll be using, you need a pretty high repair skill to take advantage of it, but it's a nice option for an appropriate build. We operate the machine and make some moonshine. I give the bottle to the guard. There is no reward. We are expected to be an errand boy. The garage. The last section of Tartarus accessible to us. I love the music and the atmosphere. The sprite work here is really good as well, much better than in the main Tartarus level, which honestly looks quite bland. Now this is strange. Do you see this little opening here? The garage worker says we should mind our own business, turn around and walk away. I'm not gonna. He becomes our first human kill. The knife we stole from one of the soldiers helped. His body is our second. Let's see what's behind the fake wall. A dead guard? Curious. We did our chores for today and the overseer is satisfied. Is this a mask or a natural tone of the skin? Are we being ruled by golden people? Time to go back to bed and sleep for a few years again. This lady wakes us up. Something happened. Our dad is at the doctor's. As we go to check up on him, the soldier stops us. He was wounded by the creatures from the caves. He urgently needs medical attention. Well, we're going to the doctor anyway. Dad got the same condition that killed Mom, the condition being bad quest writing syndrome. It's a killer. You guys realize that I was hoarding anti-radiation supplies since I was 7, right? But the conventional meds won't help. Only an anti-radiation quest item MacGuffin will. We should bring the medical kit to the soldier. But it's too late. Wait, it's not what it looks like. Wait. So this is what finally forces us to flee the slave colony. A misunderstanding? We didn't actually do much or uncover anything. That's, I kind of love it. The caves. The caves are populated by this game's equivalent of ghouls. These are not the old Fallout sprites, but they do look very similar. And that's something you'll be noticing more and more as we play Olympus. The game's graphics are not upgrades from the original Fallout. Instead, they are side grades. Not better, not worse most of the time. Our first picked lock. These old musical record-looking things are the game's holodiscs. The exit to the surface. For the first time in our life, we are seeing the outside world. The Olympus Tower. Tartarus, our former home, is in the tower's basement, a community of slaves forced to labor on behalf of our masters from the top floors. Well, the adventure begins. Our goal is to obtain a cure for bad quest writing and then somehow make our way back to Tartarus. It's actually possible to go straight to the Olympus building right away, but it's an endgame location with tons of enemies in what seems to be this game's equivalent of power armor. The wasteland scum like ourselves is shot on sight. We stumble upon a bunch of travelers fending off oversized scorpions. Going by the sound, the gun this person is using is pneumatic. The widespread use of pneumatic weapons in the post-apocalypse is a Russian science fiction trope. I don't think the developers realized just how many real guns are there in America. We meet a bunch of travelers on the road. From the dialogue barks, we learn that the local word for wasteland is radius. Just radius. Makes sense, it's the radius around this centrally located, mostly intact skyscraper that must be visible for miles away. The single biggest mechanical difference between this game and the original Fallout is radiation. I don't like radiation. It's dangerous, irritating, and it gets everywhere. It is everywhere. If you idle in one place for too long, you get irradiated. You sleep, you get irradiated. You travel on the world map, you get irradiated extraordinarily quickly. Radiation poisoning lowers the stats, directly affecting your carrying capacity and combat capability. This location is called the Metro Station. On the outside, it appears to be deserted. Inside the actual station, however, there is a large community of survivors. This ghoul is in charge. The place has interesting politics. The existence of Tartarus is a known fact in the wasteland. Many people want to get in. Living there as a slave is preferable to a short and miserable life in the wastes. The ghoul's plan is to engage in negotiations with whoever is in charge of Tartarus and get access that way. We pickpocket a sharpened butcher's cleaver from a guard, a fantastic early game melee weapon. That's a sweet train sprite. Most environmental graphics in this game are very high effort. These guys represent a different political faction within the community. They want to get into Tartarus as well, by force. I'm not sure I understand how this works. We'll be your slaves or we'll kill you? Interesting. This looks like an alternative entrance to our former home. Useful to know for later.
Updated my journal.
We are protecting Tartarus from scum like you. The runaways, the undead, and wasteland rabble should stay the hell away. If you come any closer, we'll tear your head off, says the guard. Oh, so you're a tough guy? A ghoul leader of the community gathered a bunch of people around him. Tough times ahead, he says, but I promise you, sooner or later we'll all get the right to live in Tartarus. The guards have almost agreed to let us in. You don't even have to wait for that long. This guy, also a ghoul, is the station's resident medic. He can heal our wounds and cure radiation poisoning. None of that is for free, but the prices are affordable. And there is a job offer. He wants us to travel with him into the nearby wilderness to collect medicinal plants. I love this music. It's very Fallout, even though this is an original track. Olympus doesn't feel or play like a mod. It feels very much like an original standalone product. The hyper-violent death animations are also very classic Fallout. A little graveyard not far from the station, obviously of recent construction. An old basement, or perhaps a bomb shelter. The residents are dead, killed. Let's explore the overworld some more. A trading caravan. Well, it's not much of a caravan, just a trader and his very heavily armed escort. Now, stealing from traders is possible, but it's hard. As soon as you get too close, the guards will instruct you to take a step back. If you don't, they'll make another warning and then open fire. And no, it's not because I'm carrying a weapon. I exchange a bunch of crap we stole for a set of lockpicks and some basic leather armor. Hell yeah, we are no longer naked. What is this place? There is an old loner living here. Seems harmless. I think this is supposed to represent a heart attack. Doesn't seem like it's our fault. And what is this? Some sort of a large-ish raider settlement. This person has an iconic American rifle in his inventory, but our thievery skills are not high enough to succeed stealing it. I've tried. Most communities in the game are gang settlements. Think Red Rock from Vegas. These guys have a combat arena. We can fight in it, yes, but it's unarmed only and we are not proficient in that. The name of the place is Rainbow Raiders. A teenage gangster leads a posse of even younger children. We can go robbing trade caravans with them. This will cost us some karma, but it's a fantastic way of making tons of money quickly and relatively risk-free. I love these new animations of kids firing Fallout-style oversized weapons. After doing several jobs, we eventually start taking casualties. The bar is the heart of the local community. Many interesting and suspicious individuals inside. This guard has an AK in his inventory. We can't take it yet, not skilled enough. But will be soon. I gain another level and we get to select a perk. Radiation resistance would actually be pretty useful in this game. I mean, it would have been if it provided more than 5% resistance per perk. That's just pathetic. Between travels, we stop by the metro station to visit the dock and cure our rads. Its central location makes for a convenient pit stop. Here is another gang settlement, the Jackals. In Russian, this place is referred to as Dogs of Dusk, or Dusk Dogs, probably named after a raider gang that controls it. There are quite a few traders. This guy sells combat armor. Hell yeah! And this is how the sprite looks. Not bad, but not quite as good as the original Fallout sprite. The guns trader nearby has some amazing looking weapons we are not qualified to use. The world map layout is... well, it's very unconventional. Since the endgame location, the Olympus Tower, is right there in the middle, the game's equivalent of Enclave patrols will be some of the first encounters you'll stumble upon in Olympus. This probably means you'll have to reload a bunch. Various wasteland settlements and communities form a circle around the tower. While exploring the southwestern part of the map, we find this place. NWO, New World Order. Out of all communities we've discovered so far, this one is the most normal. There is a lot of economic activity. The settlement is dominated by the old industrial facility that acts as a government building. One of the locals has a job for us. 3 of his friends went prospecting in the nearby suburbia and didn't come back. Sure, we'll check on them, why not? Very nice ambient. The place is infested with ghouls. These are always hostile and cannot be reasoned with. An abandoned mall. This is probably the reason the prospectors were in town in the first place. Quite a few valuable items, books, repair kits, ammo. We find the survivors in the basement. There are only 2 of them and 1 is wounded. Nice home gym. The punching bag is not interactive, unfortunately. While exploring the nearby hospital, we discover the fate of the 3rd prospector. And here are the medical supplies we were looking for. Lockpicking this door got us to the next experience level. In Olympus, you get quite a bit of XP for using the non-combat skills. We bring the prospectors back to New World Order and everyone is happy. Well, as happy as they can be, considering they just lost 33% of their crew. NWO is a multi-ethnic community. This official is a ghoul. He has a monocle. Is it cool to have a monocle? Should I have a monocle? An abandoned factory of some sort. A formerly popular prospector destination. We are here to search the place together with a ranger from NWO. But as soon as we get inside, the ranger flees. This place is certainly very moody, but I don't get a vibe that we are in danger. There are barely any hostile creatures here. Actually, there are none. Let's see what's in the basement. Ambush. These things are simply called the Beasts. There are the Olympus equivalents of Deathclaws. Normal anti-Deathclaw tactics work pretty well. Precision attacks in the eyes. Granted, in Fallout, this is a universal tactic that works against everyone. The creature was guarding pre-war treasure. Among it, a Robotron hand. Nearby, there is another settlement. This place is called Livos, and it's sort of like a traditional Fallout-style Vault-Tech underground facility. Quite a bit of diversity when it comes to community types in this game. It's not just villages and bigger villages. The vault is closed off to us. Only a select few blue-blooded families can enter. The man behind the bulletproof glass collects rare technological curiosities. He demonstrates interest in the Robotron part we found, but no, he won't let us in, even in exchange for this piece of technology. Back in New World Order, we talked to the ranger who bailed on us. He claims it was a necessary tactical retreat, and since the scavenging mission was a success, he pays us for the job well done. Whatever, guy. NWO is an important trading hub. Caravans from here travel all over the wasteland. We get a job as a caravan guard. I don't think they even need our help. So, Olympus 2207 is not available in English or in any language other than Russian. There is this individual from No Mutants Allowed online community who is working on a translation. Anime. That takes me back. I think I used to write for that website in like 2008 or something. I wonder how the old community is holding up. Why? Because modern games are made as if soy boys were the main gamer audience, not us T-Rexes. It's because developers think majority of gamers are imbeciles, which may or may not be true, as I don't have the data how much percentage of gamer society are soy boys in comparison to normal people. Interesting fact, in the testosterone-fueled weightlifting community, T-Rex, or rather T-Rex mode, is a term for people who screwed up their training by overdeveloping their legs while having tiny arms. Anyway, this is not supposed to be a call-out. No Mutants Allowed is the best place online to find information about classic Fallout modding. In fact, in this house we still remember the nerds perished in the Great PHP Forum War of 2007. We call it Saint War. Everything was fine until the Goon Nation attacked. We're back in Dusk Dogs. I trade a bunch of items in exchange for a more sophisticated set of lockpicks. Purely in terms of territory, this is the biggest community we've discovered so far. The place used to be a military production facility of some sort. Probably still is. This tough guy is a local expert hunter. We go on an expedition with him. The new creature sprites are impressively well animated. Giant bears were not present in classic Fallouts, so it's interesting to see them here. We make our way back to town and socially bond over adventuring stories. The hunter shares a curious anecdote about a friend of his who stumbled upon a dead body in a strange uniform. By the description, it sounded like an overseer uniform from Tartarus. Curious, where is this friend now? In this little out-of-the-way location. Looks like an abandoned hotel. The hunter's buddy is hiding downstairs with his girlfriend. Says he's willing to give us the uniform if we help him secure the place against the beasts or whatever. I wasn't paying attention. These people are both violent desert raiders. I have no intention of wasting my time being their babysitter. That's the uniform. Our ticket back to Tartarus. We get into a bar fight with a heavily armed individual wearing combat armor. Didn't help him. The man carried some suspiciously high-quality equipment. And a note. This was an agent working for Olympus. He was sent into the wasteland to recover advanced technology. By finishing his job, we can get access to the tower, but since we already found an overseer uniform, there is no need to do that. Life of crime. We kill a pimp who was mean to the girls. His boss, the local gangster Big Shot, is very annoyed by this. Now we have to do the dead man's job instead. They should clean up the place. Look what I found on a dead gangster. Isn't this the most American gun you've ever seen? The diversity of random world map adventures is pretty good. Better than in Arcanum, but not quite on Fallout 2 level. A trader and his heavily armed guards are getting attacked by mutated scorpions. The scorpions are significantly more deadly in this game compared to the classics. They actually managed to kill the caravan guards. Look at the pile of bodies. The apotheosis of war. One of the guards had a diesel punk Tommy gun. The inventory icons are quite well made. After making our way back to Dusk Dogs, we exchanged the cool gun we found, as well as a bunch of other stuff, for an advanced suit of armor. I hope this will provide some environmental protection, among other things. I could have probably gotten past the guards if I just dressed up in the Overseer's uniform. Even with our advanced equipment, these guys are tough. I consume all the drugs and combat stims we've collected in our travels. That's more like it. Let's get inside. Oh, so this is where the door leads. I remember you. The residents of Tartarus are not hostile, with the exception of the guards and the cops in green uniforms. Oh hey, it's the guy made out of gold or whatever. I was always curious. No, he's just made out of organs, as it turns out. What is this? An elevator access card. This is how we get into Olympus proper. The religious activist fellow is the only hostile person in the residential area. We go check up on Dad. The dog bugged out and keeps barking lines how he's absolutely amazed by our Robotron companion, which we don't have. I thought it might be because I'm wearing a metallic-looking full bodysuit, but no, removing it doesn't change anything. Alright, so we put on the uniform and use the keycard on the elevator. I expected the place to be more, I don't know, well-maintained. It's cool that they have mini Deathclaws walking around. This is not the only way into the tower. We could have disguised ourselves as a ranger, collected the items on the list, and got access that way. The cutscene would have been different. Now that we're in here, well, there are several ways to proceed. The tower has 100-something floors. About 7 or 8 of them are implemented as playable levels, not counting Tartarus. We can just do a bunch of drugs and start killing people, take the tower by force, or we can pretend to be one of them, do jobs for the tower's authorities, rise up in the ranks. There are several different careers available, depending on our skill set. This holodisc explains that the Olympians intentionally created Tartarus as a slave society. We can freely leave and enter the tower as long as we have the uniform. Floor 31, Institute of Organics. A body stuck in the machine. What the hell do they do here? The mechanic back in Tartarus teaches us how to make metal armor. It's not very useful at this stage of the game, but I think I actually like this sprite more than the original Fallout metal armor. Time to finally get medicine for Dad. The barkeep at Rainbow Raiders sells whatever this is. Ridiculously expensive, but it's the only thing in the wasteland that cures bad story writing sickness. Since we're in the area, we might as well visit the Chimera lair. A scientist from Organics sent us here to inject a special pacifying serum into the Deathclaw matriarch, and then bring the creature back to the lab. Alright, let's see. That's it! The Deathclaw is now our companion. That was easier than expected. Together, we mop up the other smaller Deathclaws for XP. These Mr. Potato-looking things are the game's equivalent of Fallout 3 bobbleheads. Finding them gives you a permanent boost to a special stat, a reward for exploration. We find a historical document. The lab used to belong to Ancaster Corporation, the same people responsible for the Olympus tower construction. The chimeras were designed on purpose, to serve as guard dogs, I guess? This is the cage the Deathclaw matriarch escaped from. We learn that her name is Lucy.
We're my good team!
Floor 51, Engineering. The biolab guy wants us to show Lucy to the head engineer on this level. Long story short, the man didn't appreciate the gesture. His death immediately turns off the power. Some kind of a security measure. Lucy, it's a bunch of engineers. This might come as an absolute shock, but Olympus is a dysfunctional society that isn't run very well. Different floors form discrete communities that engage in rivalries and vendettas with other floors. We sided with organics against engineering, but this is not by any means the only career path. I bet the view is nice. I suppose this is the limitation of isometric perspective. Can't really take in the panorama. Keep in mind this is only floor 51 out of 100 or so. Interacting with the computer grants us access to the next section of the building. Floor 63, Physics. Looks like the Olympians are experimenting with energy weapons. Cool robot. Some of the quests here in physics send us traveling all over the wasteland. The weapons trader at Dusk Dogs updated his stock. He now sells this Zeus nuclear-powered super sledge. I'm not sure if it's an upgrade or not. In classic Fallouts, two-handed melee weapons are usually inferior because they push the target away from you, making it harder to land subsequent hits. We'll see, I guess. Arena fights. That's super badass. Too bad our unarmed combat skill is laughable. An old military warehouse. Let's see what's inside. Inside there are raiders who are guarding what looks like an advanced pre-war military equipment. After disposing of them, we get this thing. Some sort of an experimental energy weapon, it looks like. The eggheads at Physics would love to get their hands on this. The trader at New World Order sells advanced environmental armor. The additional radiation protection is nice, but defense-wise it's not better than our current suit. We deliver the high-tech weapon to the labs, which grants us access to the next floor. This is an interesting quest. We are being given a suit of advanced power armor, just like this guy is wearing. Our job is to test its durability. This means we put it on and... that hurt. But we survived, so the test was a success. It's very clever of the game to seduce us with power armor at this point of the story, because the next mission is basically a recreation of No Russian scene except in the metro station, the very same we visited in the beginning of the game. A unit of heavily armed power-armored soldiers is dispatched to exterminate all men, women and children who are unarmed and can offer no resistance. And despite all that, I kid you not, we lose half of the squad to friendly fire accidents. Someone noticed us. We're being summoned to floor 79, the server room. Story revelation time. The tower is being managed by a gestalt of AIs. Here's a twist. The AIs are actually our benefactors. They kept the tower safe during the war by hacking and disabling the incoming missiles. The problem is the Ancaster administrator. He is still alive after all these years, residing at the top of the tower, slowly replacing his organs with mechanical body parts. His plan is to fully integrate himself into the tower systems, like a post-apocalyptic Bob Page. The AIs think he's irrational and want us to stop him. That sounds like the end game. I need to think about this. Attacking Olympus patrols in the desert doesn't make the rest of the faction hostile. A special encounter. An abandoned house. Do you see what I mean? The two-handed weapons are completely impractical. Well, there is nothing in the house itself, but what is this? Two survivors in an old bomb shelter. The shelves are mostly empty. This little remote location is called the Oasis. Tribals, just like in Fallout 2, except these guys are cannibals. We find another Mr. Potato Head in the cave, plus 1 charisma, the attribute we don't really use. Looking back at the footage, I for the life of me can't remember what I did to anger the tribals, but it is what it is. Let's go become the CEO, I guess. The AI set the password for the administrator's private chambers to 1234. This guy is low-rent Robert House. Actually, let's see. Yeah, the game is 5 years older than New Vegas. The boss arena. I suppose he's like a mix of House and Andrew Ryan from BioShock. Who am I? I am your god, and you knew this since birth. Who are you? Think you are the smartest one around? The most just? You dare to barge in here and tell me what to do? Our character responds, "Your system is built on lies and I'll destroy it. I will rule the Olympus in the name of justice and truth." This is the literal line our character says. The writing in this game is hit or miss, and it's mostly miss. Until now, I didn't even realize we wanted to take control of Olympus. I was honestly just exploring the world and its social structures. The boss fight commences. Ron Anderson, the administrator, can't attack you directly, but there are 4 very dangerous gun turrets as well as power armored troops coming to get us. Thankfully, the layout of the arena makes dispatching the turrets a trivial task, even for a melee character. After the room is cleared, we need to take out this little wall emplacement, Anderson's last line of defense. Jesus Christ, that was a little excessive. He might have had valuable information about the tower's operations. Time for the ending slides. After the massacre committed by the Olympians, the metro station was deserted. We could have prevented this. The death of the leader of Dusk Dogs was followed by a brutal civil war among the raiders. Unable to rally under a new leadership, the raider collective disintegrated. The Dusk Dogs are no more. A conservative candidate was elected leader of New World Order. The residents of the settlement mostly kept to themselves. Their zone of influence didn't expand or contract. This is Livos, the underground community we failed to get access to. I missed a lot of content in this game, didn't even find all the major locations. With the Dusk Dogs weapon manufacturing facilities no longer operational, the wasteland becomes a safer place. Trade and cooperation flourishes. Rainbow becomes famous for its casinos and brothels. The new administrator of Olympus, that's us, came to a realization that the tower exists solely because of the servants from Tartarus. What? Reflecting upon his past life in Tartarus, he understood that it wasn't that bad. Everyone had their place in the world. Everyone made their own little contribution to the greater good. So Tartarus remained unchanged. What? The ending to this game is literally this Matt Boris comic. This is actually kind of insulting to players' intelligence. Our mom died when we were a kid because she was irradiated doing shitty meaningless job that could have been delegated to robots, which we, as it turns out, also have. Our dad almost died doing the same thing. The only reason he didn't is because we saved him, and in the process of doing that we had to kill around 24 Olympians. The costs of maintaining Tartarus must have been very high, even before we increased them by killing off the personnel. There is a lot of tower staff involved in the operations. Guards, cops, the preacher, the overseer, possibly scientists. And all this for what? So that a bunch of slaves can pick corn? You have AIs. Build an automated farm. What about the lab heads who are openly plotting and scheming against one another? And I can't help but notice that our military is outrageously incompetent. When it came to murdering children at the metro station, we suffered 50% casualties. Our kill-death ratio against unarmed civilians was just barely positive. I guess we do live in a society of zoological morons. It's not a utopian task to improve it. We are not exactly immanentizing the eschaton here, but even if we were, what of it? And I wonder what happened to Lucy. She was the only good Olympian, the only one who did her job well, the job being eating engineers. Anyway, that's it, friends. Olympus 2207, the game nobody played, and nobody will, probably. Yes, the main story is bad, it's like a 15-year-old wrote it, but the narrative communicated through gameplay is very strong. The formula of classic Fallout works. If this game was released in, say, 2002, it would have been remembered as a B-tier classic, like Shadow Warrior to Fallout's Duke Nukem, or like Icewind Dale to Baldur's Gate. But alas, I think this might be the only comprehensive English language video about the project. Alright, keep it real, T-Rex gamers. I'm gonna see you in 2 weeks. Currently playing Andorol and enjoying it a lot. After Andorol, we're going to investigate if Master Arion has a big enough boss. Support the channel and enjoy this compilation of Tarantino-esque video game gore.